Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. We're back. We are doing another Breeders Bowl preview this time. We're looking at the Breeders Bowl Distaff for the Fillies and Mares, 9 furlongs on dirt. Of course, we have Spinround, Eliza from the BTB. And today we have another special guest, somebody some of the newer players may not be as familiar with, but if you've been around a while, this will be a familiar face. So as far as introductions go, this guy's been a lot of things. He was a teenage handicapping prodigy, message board rabble rouser back in the day. He's founded his own residency in the game, East-West Connection. He's got a Twitch racing channel, and he's also my longest time simulated frenemy. It's Andrew, also known as Pye, the trainer of the tie-dye stables, and any other names you got that you want to throw in there that I've left out?
I mean, that's amazing. You make it, I didn't think I did much, and then you kind of reeled off some things, and I was like, oh, wow, I guess I had been around, and trainer of Hall of Fame horse, Ray of Pye.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long 20 years. This is what 20 years of simulated horse racing will make you do. I was just I was a young buck, and I was maybe weighed 180 pounds soaking wet back in my good old days, and now 100 pounds later, this is what gets going.
healthy simulated living. It's all good.
Exactly.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get things started off that interesting introduction. First horse we're going to talk about here is Last Call Champ. She's from the stables of Dixie.co, who really doesn't need an introduction in terms of the game. She's a daughter of Tappet out of his Hall of Fame mare Dangerous Reward, and she is her dam's 7th Grade 1 winner. 2 of those Grade 1 winners were champions, and 1 is in the Hall of Fame. This filly, there's a lot to like about her. She just beat older mares in the Great Dame going this distance. She ran a 116 speed there. She's got 7 starts this year, and she's only been off the board 1 time. So what do you guys think?
Talk about an embarrassment of riches. Oh my goodness. 7 Grade 1 wins from a single mare, from a Hall of Fame mare at that. What's interesting is she really didn't come into her own until her 3-year-old season. And, besides that blemish on the off track, besides really 2 blemishes on off track, including that first lifetime start, I mean, the horse has really just started to come break out of its shell. And, at 11 starts, I mean, the best is probably yet to come in the next, half dozen starts. Talk about peaking at the right time.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, everything's going right, obviously, for this horse, and I'm sure you've got I don't know, like a top 3 trainer all time. It's probably by design, and I'm scanning through the past performances, looking for some fault here, and the only thing you can see maybe is that she's got that 1 fast track loss at 9 furlongs, and that was a few races back in the Sister Hen Stakes. And she got beat 3/4 of a length by a horse named Streets of Honor, which was basically a come from the clouds type, 24-1. The horse is pretty good, but not in the Breeders Bowl. So maybe you could think of a scenario, and that's trained by L. Bailey. Shout out to L. Bailey. The only thing I think there is maybe the horse doesn't want to be that far back. So if there's I don't know if the pace plays into that, if it's super crazy fast up front and this horse finds herself 14, 10, 12 lengths back, that may be too much to do. But other than that, I mean, you got to think she's going to be right there. There's a lot to like.
Yeah, that's a good point about the about being too far back. The horse, when it got a little far back, although it was a longer distance in the Birmingham, got about 9 lengths back. Just didn't fire the normal bullet. Did get a little further back into Sister Hen Stakes, and same deal. Came raging home, but when you're facing the absolute best in a spot like this, any kind of any kind of small mistake will definitely cost you. And second race against older, you're facing the top runners. That's really the only blemish. Other than that, the horse is possible to pop like a 120 at this point if everything goes as expected.
And it's worth noting that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's worth noting that race was a furlong longer. So it could be that she just wants to be a 9 furlong horse.
Yeah, and I think that's that's what it's going to be a trend we're going to see in some of these other runners. They are absolutely 9 furlong specialists. It is almost crazy the quality of runners that the quality of their 9 furlong efforts on the rest of these runners. They are absolute specialists at this distance, so it should be a huge and a difficult race to try and take down.
And Donnie, I think you have one of those 9 furlong specialists lined up for us.
I do, and at least that they hope that she's a 9 furlong specialist, and that's Always Bold.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe Pye has it. Magical Morning.
Yeah, no, I think you're magical. Pye's Magical Morning. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm totally off this morning.
That's okay.
So it's not magical for me.
So yeah, Magical Morning, 4-year-old, another 4-year-old filly, and I'll tell you, this one's so good, old man Abner couldn't jack her up. That's how good this horse is.
That's King Ab, the trainer.
That is Mr. King Ab himself. And I mean, what do we got? We got 14 starts. We got 10 wins, 1 second, 2/3, a single out of the money. And the amazing thing is how good this horse has been as a 4-year-old. And so to start the year, won the Canada little 4-year-old only race. I mean, that's kind of skeptical, but busted a 122 and to go for the gold. And I mean that just let off a trio of other big races. Another 9 furlongs in Illinois, 119 winning by open lengths, and then in the 3 smokestacks to prep for the Breeders Bowl. Busted a 115, probably had more in the tank too. I haven't seen, as far as like dirt horses go at classic distances, and I was just looking this up yesterday. I must have had time on my hands, but I haven't seen kind of this dominance of races against some of the top competition since a horse like Irvington Pegasus, who just absolutely whipped the absolute top of the class by like 2 lengths every single race at classic distances. This is just something you don't see at this type of distance. You see a lot of less than one length victories, but to win by 2+ open lengths every time is interesting.
And I think one thing that's interesting about her, is her 122 is the highest of any filly in this field, and the 119 is the second highest of any in this field.
Wow.
A couple of them have run 118s, but she's tops by a lot.
Yeah, and her dam is Impact is Magical, who was a decent runner but not amazing, but she's from the Magical Mia line, who was a end of year winner, who was surprisingly lacking, I guess, in the barn, as Impact is Magical was her only her top graded winning foal, which was a grade 2, and she had lots of foals, but none of them lived up to her. But she seemed to pass on the bloodline to her granddaughter.
Nice to see that you can get that skip a generation, because she had 14 foals, only 2 of them were graded stakes winners. I noticed that about Magical Mia too. I got my ass beat by her plenty. It was the 2007 Breeders Bowl Turf Distaff is what Magical Mia capped off her career with. So I think there's once you pointed out that she had the fastest and second fastest speed figures in the race, I'm like, oh great, Larry, just hog all the speed figures
right.
Yourself, don't let the rest of us.
The only question is, is there a bounce in the offing? But the horse's races have been so spaced out. It's not like the horse went, August, September, October. The horse, this is only the 5th start of the year.
Yeah.
And the horse started its career on turf and was okay, and then suddenly, this is one of those things why you should always try, both surfaces, because this horse looked decent on turf, and then the horse got to dirt and has obliterated them. don't think just because, oh, my horse is racing pretty good on one surface, to not try the other surface, because you may end up with an absolute monster on that
That's
alternate
totally
surface.
true. Best advice you could give to any new sim player is try everything. If your horse isn't living up to its potential, go for it. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah. I mean, use the breeding as a guide. Use the, if the horse is bred from a dam, use that as a guide. But don't stick hard to those, first inclinations, because things flip on a dime. I've had stayers from sprinters, and sprinters from stayers, and there's sometimes you just get one that really kind of flips the script on you, and don't be shy to give it a chance there.
All right,
Yeah,
Donnie, you want to take us? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
You
no,
want to
that's-
make one more point and then take us to our next horse?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I mean, we've been saying all these good things about her. There's not a whole lot I can say negative. She's actually undefeated at 9 furlongs on a fast dirt track. So I don't see any reason for her to lose again, just because it's another bigger race. And she's second in the points, but I think she would be a deserving favorite, when the morning line comes out. I think this is the horse that everybody else has to be looking at, like.
Yeah, they really just have to be hoping for a bounce at this point, because I mean her races are spectacular.
I heard a rumor that Mike Wallace is putting in a feature in the game that for 5,000 credits you can buy a bounce and apply it to another person's horse.
I mean, at this point, the horse may be able to win on a bounce. We may see like something like a 109, and the horse wins anyway. I mean, we need a full blown nerfing at this point.
Yeah, the nerfing. I think that's on the black web. I don't think.
Right.
Website, so. Okay, cool. It's my turn. I was planning just to mail it in because my contract with the BTB said 2 videos, Eliza, 2 videos, and this is 3. So,
well above quota at this point.
But I figured I have to like try to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. So I did do a little research, and the horse I came up with is named Always Bold. Always Bold is a 3-year-old filly from the Evil Empire, Lenny. And it just happens to be by Always Dreaming. Always Dreaming is one of my favorite up-and-coming new sires in the real world of horse racing. Some of you may know there's what our game, which is super important, but there's also like real horses that have the same, names.
Does not compute.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's technically irrelevant for the conversation, but like I love Always Dreaming. So I love this horse's pedigree by proxy. It seems that her, Always Dreaming, Medaglia d'Oro, and AP Indy, it's like she's telling you, I want to go 9 furlongs on the distaff, right? She's got a pretty good resume. She was really good at 2. She just missed winning the Breeders Bowl Juvenile Filly. Is that how you say that race?
Yeah.
And there was a horse named Dawn Goes Down Today. I don't know, Spin, have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I have a little bit of a connection to her.
Oh, cool. Okay, excellent. You may know somebody involved with that horse. So that's okay. I mean, okay horse, let's say. Not bad. That was a decent horse. So like she's got some street cred. She had an easy win last time out in a grade 2. It was 8.5. You could say, 11 starts, that's a lot for a 3-year-old, but I feel like they're well spaced. She did have a little break between 2 and 3, so I'm not too concerned. If it were my 3-year-old, I'd be like, we're pushing the envelope here, but it's Lenny, so okay, give him the benefit of the doubt, right? You worry that maybe 9 furlongs is not what she likes. If you're looking at her past performances, she did, run up the track in the Bluegrass Oaks, which is the 9 furlong race on her record, right? But to me, it's like she was way back. It was a super regression in a speed figure. It looks like it was too bad to be true.
Yeah.
I looked up the jockey that, he's got all these like Lenny jockeys, and then there's some random dude was on the horse.
Right.
Random dude was an Idaho based.
Oh, right. So, some guy from potato country made the trek all the way to Kentucky.
And I gotta think that he didn't like, max out the payment for this guy to make the trip from, Boise or wherever the hell the simulated track is out there. So I'm trying to throw that race out and say it was a fluke. There's a bunch of other horses in this race who were in the Oaks that also didn't run. So maybe the race was just an anomaly. And, I'm going to give her a shot. If she could be a little closer than normal, maybe that 9 furlongs doesn't impact her as much as you would imagine, in that imaginary, or what did I call it? No, it's like an invisible wall that some of these horses hit going between 8.5 and 9. If that,
it's definitely a thing with some of these horses that they just hit that distance wall, and it is, you can pray and will and hope, and they just will not run a lick at that certain, past that point.
The one thing I think is interesting is that after the Bluegrass Oaks, Lenny didn't seem to know quite what distance she wanted. He dropped her down to a mile, and then he dropped her back into a sprint before her big race in the Cotton at 8.5. So I don't know if he has confidence in her going 9 furlongs. But again, the Bluegrass Oaks with 20 horses in the field, you see it every year, the Bluegrass Oaks, the Bluegrass Derby, a horse who looks logical in the spot, runs badly, and then comes back. And, 20 horses is a lot to face. And I got to say, her rival, Dawn Goes Down Today, turned out to be just a miler. She just won a grade 2 about 2 weeks ago, going 8 furlongs. And she doesn't want to go a lick further. So, if you want to find a chink in her armor, it may be that the distance is a problem. But again, you could also throw out that Bluegrass Oaks run, and she could run big here.
Yeah, that Bluegrass Oak run seems very anomalous. The horse is, besides that single race, the horse is 6 for 6 in the money, with 4 wins going a route distance. So I think it's safe to say that was an anomaly. There's certainly other concerns here. The horse hasn't faced older. Interestingly enough, I've had 3-year-old fillies with almost this exact same profile, running decently in kind of the juvenile, and then I've actually won the Lost Vinaigrette before as a lead up to the Bluegrass, and I can tell you that's exactly what happens when you exit the Lost Vinaigrette and go to the Bluegrass, because my horse did the same thing. Maybe she finished 9th or something. It was not a good effort, and then she struggled. I mean, I don't know if it's specifically a profile with 3-year-old fillies, but I've had horses do the same thing. They late season 2-year-olds, early season 3-year-olds, everything looks on track for the Bluegrass Oaks and beyond. And then you get past the Bluegrass Oaks, and then the wheels fall off a little bit. The Cotton Handicap, obviously, very good effort. That's what you're supposed to do when you drop into the grade 2. You're supposed to win if you're that top class of a horse. But I don't see that being as a stepping stone to necessarily greater things here. Going 9, there's a question mark there, question mark against older. It's going to be a tough sell. If anyone can do it, though, good old Lenny you can always count on him to give you a run in these big races.
And I hate to, question his wisdom. It could be that 7 furlong prep was meant as a prep to go longer. So, he's better than all of us, and he's surprised.
I mean, I've won the exam stakes on an absolute bomb long shot who had no reason to ever win that race back in the day. Maybe this was like 15 years ago, on a little filly named Pack Your Bags Pye, a Devil's Bag filly. She won the exam way back in the day. So maybe he was just thinking he could steal one there. Maybe the field came up a little soft. It seems, I don't know if it's the scheduling wise that race comes up occasionally softer than usual. But yeah, I mean, he could also have been just using it, as a test to say, hey, maybe build in a little more speed for this horse. The horse does get a little far back, and when the horse gets a little far back, unlike when it was in its 2-year-old year, it just doesn't recover as much. So get her a little closer and get her to rally on, and maybe that was the idea there.
Yeah, I was reminiscing about my 3-year-old fillies that were on this path, like you two have, and thinking like, what did they do in those situations? Like, oh wait, no, I never had one. I've never had a Breeders' Bowl. I've never had a Breeders' Bowl.
You're just not you're not lucky with the ladies, Don. What can we say?
I wanted to think as the dirt was the problem. The dirt. But okay, yeah, I'm not good with women. That's fine.
So someone who has been a bit lucky with the ladies is Desert Dog. He has Road to Danzig in here. She's a grade 1 winning 3-year-old filly this year. She has 2 stakes wins. Both came at 9.5 furlongs, including her grade 1. She's run well at 10 furlongs. She did run off the board at 9.5 facing the boys earlier this season. And she's kind of a weird filly who can pop a big one when you don't expect it, but can also run a clunker. So she seems to be in a good race, bad race pattern. And I think this might be her good race. And I could see her finishing in the money here.
Yeah, that it's always interesting when you get kind of these horses that go the longer distance and then turn back. You definitely see it sometimes where they put in that huge closing effort. The race sets up for them, and they give it a go. One thing, so I see this a lot with when a horse runs this inconsistently. The horse just hasn't had consistently as far as jockeys go. It's another kind of pro tip for I guess newer players. You know, if you find a jockey that's good on your horse, throw all the money in the world at them, because you want as much consistency as possible. You don't want to see guy from Idaho get on your horse and then suddenly it runs 10 figures slower, and sometimes that's jockey wise, and they will you just want that consistency though, so that when you go at a certain distance on a certain surface that you can be at least confident you're going to get likely a you want to lower as many variables as possible, and this seems like a prime situation where some of those variables could be lowered if with kind of a consistent jockey on board.
I think we blew our sponsorship with the Idaho Board of Tourism. We strive for integrity here, so I'm with you on that. Yeah, I mean, I like how Desert Dog has trained this horse. It's like he's trying to get the most out of her, despite not exactly having ideal races for her. I mean, she won at 9.5 a grade 1, right? And then trying to keep her at the same distance he ran her against the boys. That didn't work out. Bluegrass Oaks maybe was too short. He went back, he found another 9.5. It was, on the wet track, she won. He went up to 10 and she's right there. So I think he's doing all the right things. I would be concerned more that the race is too short for her. Nothing negative on the horse or the training job or any of that stuff. It's just like we can't control that part of the game. It's like the horse wants what the horse wants. So that's what I'm looking at when I see Road to Danzig. Is can things materialize for her just enough that a huge late run is going to be effective at a slightly shorter distance, and also at a track that she's not competed at so far.
There's probably at least couple prayers for rain for this horse. That off track race was by far the horse's best, even though I think there's some empirical evidence that off track races tend to be a little speed figure wise a little higher than standard dry track races. But I mean, this horse hasn't. I mean, the horse is raced on an aggressive schedule, something that I hold near and dear to my heart. So I mean, I don't see, I don't see necessarily, that being too much of an issue. But yeah, distance is going to be a problem, and I think again, it's just that consistency factor. The horse needs is facing older for the first time, and in races against the absolute very best, consistency, inconsistency is not something you want to have as a attribute to your horse, and that's going to be probably a significant hindrance here.
So, she's she's definitely a roll of the dice horse, but I think if she runs her best race, she could, hit the board and maybe surprise.
Yeah, her best can definitely compete with this field, and a lot of times when these type of races get too hot, a closer like this can on the turn back especially can nab a piece of the pie and really not be surprising about it at all. This horse says, this horse has had success in grade one, so class wise definitely not in question here. And even recent form, again, that Birmingham race was all of 2 starts ago, so we're not reaching far back for form on this one.
And the filly who beat her there, She Wants Biceps, is actually running in the Classic this year. So, she was beat by a quality filly. Another one who was beat by a quality filly recently is your horse, Pye, who lost to Magical Morning 2 starts back, but ran one of those 118s that a couple in the field have run, as I mentioned.
Yeah, is it enough? Is the 5-year-old mare here, very lightly raced 5-year-old mare, 13 starts, no finishes out of the money, and just 82,000 below being a millionaire. This horse is very interesting because we talked about this offline, but this horse started out early in its career. Started out 1 race as a 2-year-old, 1 race as a 3-year-old, and both were very good. Both were very solid. And then, for one reason or another, was on the shelf. And then, as a 4-year-old, really started to pick it up. And then this season, as a 5-year-old, kind of similar vein to Magical Morning, has just reeled off some significant races this season. Second place in the Great Dame, second in Go for the Gold to Magical Morning, third in the Phipps, and besides that, I mean, the speed figures have been absolutely astronomical. And again, with these horses that have like so few starts, you have to think the best is yet to come, and the horse may be sitting on an absolute monster effort, just waiting to I don't know. Maybe the horses just needs to find, again, another one of these that's had a smorgasbord of riders on board. Maybe just needs to find that matchup to solidify, just to get over the hump, to make this a successful race.
Yeah, exactly. Changing a few tiny variables. I mean, that could be enough to put her over the top, right? You got the change in jockey, you've got her going to a new track, like she's primarily been in New York. Lightly raced, so there's not going to be any wear and tear to worry about. So, yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think that she couldn't win this race, despite, I believe, she has not won a race at 9. Nope, she did win some listed stakes at 9, but not any graded stakes at 9. So, you worry about, again, the invisible wall at the 16th pole for these 8.5 to 9 furlong horses. Maybe she's one of those, but her mom was like that. Her mom won a grade 1 at 8.5 furlongs. Didn't hit the board at 9. So, that's the only thing I would say that if it's my horse, I would be worried about. And I did want to point out this horse is trained by Master M, who we know of as Maddie. And I always think of Maddie as sort of like the Australian Pie. So parallel universe going on there.
So I gotta jump in here. For those who don't know Master M, he was a very dominant player in the game a few years back. And then he had to take some time away. So even though he's in the Master M stables, he's currently being trained by another trainer, Liam, who is babysitting the stables.
Gotcha.
And as a weird aside, I was babysitting the stables in 2018 and actually bred this filly for Master.
As the sim world turns, oh my goodness, this is more.
It really is. Wow. But I think Master M might be a little bit more involved at this point. I'm not really sure, but we got to give a lot of credit to Liam, who's done the majority of racing for this filly in recent times.
That's really cool. I didn't know all of that. Like, so who gets the trophy if this horse wins?
So I think it has to go to Liam, but I didn't know this filly was so good until I saw her in the race. race. I raced her once as a 2-year-old, and I probably gave her the 3-year-old start, but Liam might have done that too. And then, you know, things kind of got away from us both. So it's been a weird ride for the Master M stables. I hope he comes back to the game, but we'll have to see what happens with that.
If you bred the horse, what's his backstory behind the name?
I wish I could remember.
Yeah, if you can't remember, I'll make one up for you for the
right.
recap.
I think so. Interestingly enough, the horse ran from the 14 hole last race and actually settled fourth after, you know, settling much further back. Still came up a little short. And again, this is something I think we see. You know, I don't know about you guys as runners, but I've seen this a lot. With some of my, top end graded runners, that they love finishing in the money, and no matter what happens, they always finish like a length back, whether that's second place a length back or fifth place a length back, but this seems, that may be a problem with this horse where, the horse runs big times, runs in the money, but just cannot, find a spot to get over the hump against the absolute very best. And as someone who's trained kind of horses in that spot, it is probably one of the most frustrating things in the game, where you have a great horse who is always extremely competitive, but just cannot win the big one. And
I think we've all had those. And
I mean, I hope that's not the case with this horse, especially since it's only 13 races in her career. So hopefully, maybe even if it's just one grade one, might as well make it the Breeders Bowl.
That's all you need.
Go from there.
That's all you need. All right. So we've got one more horse to talk about, and she is not afraid to win. And I think that's Donnie's filly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I described her. She's a win machine. It's Danzig Giant. This is the #1 ranked filly in the division, which speaks to, how weird this race is shaping out. Like, we're mentioning her last. Like, oh yeah, we should probably mention the #1 ranked filly. She might have a chance. I mean, it's a goofy race, and they all have a shot here, I think. This one is trained by Harry Land, is the master stable. Not somebody I'm familiar with, but looking at the stats there, this is a 21.6% trainer overall, pretty solid. Also has a really nice horse named Sea of Tappet that ran a 123 in the Goody Good. So somebody who knows what they're doing here. She, interestingly, is a last foal of a CPU bred or owned Danzig mare. And I think that's the second or third time you've seen Danzig in the pedigree of horses in this distaff race. And I normally wouldn't think of Danzig as a horse that you want to use to get a 9 furlong, dirt horse. But again, I've never had one in this race. I've never had a good 3-year-old filly. So I'll defer to you two who, know what you're doing in that department. But I thought that was weird and interesting, right? She's another, like Pye was talking about, a model of consistency. When they don't win, they're always right there. They're a length or two behind. She's 5 of her last 7, and the 2 that she didn't win, she ran second. 20 starts, I believe it is, for a 5-year-old. So she's got the experience, but definitely you can anticipate that she is not tailing off just yet, right? One of the few 5-year-olds in the race. I think there's only 3 in the field. So I'll take that, 5-year-old, 20 starts. She won 13 of them. That's pretty good. Again, recurring theme here. What are the potential flaws in all of our runners? That wall between 8.5 and 9. She's only tried 9 furlongs once. She's sort of been an 8.5 specialist. And you can guess what happened in that 9 furlong start. She didn't run well. She was coming off some listed stakes, but and it was her first attempt at 3. It was her first graded try. And there was a 3.5 month layoff where she, ran up the track in the missed body. So if you want to give her the benefit of the doubt, it's like, okay, maybe one of those factors contributed to her not doing anything in that race at all. But then, since then she's been running up the score, had a break between 3 and 4, and then has been, pretty much unstoppable since last September.
I think, you know, when you have one race at as a 3-year-old at 9 furlongs, and then you're talking about a 5-year-old who's a multiple grade 1 winner, you got to throw that race out. And she never ran farther than 9 furlongs either. So one start as a 3-year-old does not necessarily dictate what you're going to do 2 years later.
Yeah, I mean this horse has. I mean, this is a trainer that's fully cognizant of that invisible wall, and you know, besides that turf route, besides that turf race back in July of last year, this trainer has been fully aware of where this horse runs best, and you know, there's plenty of grade 1s going 8.5 for fillies and mares, so there is no reason to test the waters. And you know, obviously distance is a question mark when you've never gone that. But as far as class and consistency and speeds, I mean, this horse is right there. And, you know, the aggressive handling in this 5-year-old season has been very good. You know, there's been, you know, the horse hasn't been necessarily winning, you know, with total, you know, aplomb, but, you know, there's just wins are wins. And you know, that this horse came out of that Molly Pitcher 2 starts back with just a dominant effort, and then second place in the Bra Snap. But yeah, I mean, leading up to this race, I would expect another consistent effort. And the other runners that may be more fancied here are simply because they've had more you know, flashiness or been winning by more. And I mean, there's nothing bad you can say about this horse besides maybe that distance. And you know, even that's a big question mark. This 9 furlongs. I've had horses on their first, you know, distance try where they looked horrible. I mean, they looked worse than this one did, you know, in that single try. And I said, oh, never again. I won't try that again. And then eventually I do have to try it again because the horse is, you know, maybe running, you know, mediocre. And then suddenly they look great at that distance. You know, it's one of those aberrant, you know, races, and you just gotta, you know, take it with a grain of salt and try it again. And this is as good a spot as any to try again.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no reason why this mare doesn't belong in this race, and she deserves a shot. You know, this will probably determine the championship for the older mare division, and you got to go for it at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, she's primed and ready, and you know, it's just going to be interesting to see how the draw shakes out. I mean, this horse has never had an inside draw, really. I mean, look at these post positions. Nothing inside last time the horse was even remotely inside, you know, the 5 hole, smoked him by 2 lengths in the Orange Blossom. So, you know, this horse is doing it. It reminds me of Monomoy Girl, who had like terrible posts like all the time in real life, and she smoked them anyway. So I mean, you know, you give this horse a good post, a good jockey, and suddenly, you know, maybe we see a 120 here.
So I gotta wrap it up here. We're running out of time, but I want to thank you guys both for joining us for this discussion of the Distaff. This is going to be our last preview of the Breeders Bowl races. Right now, there are 3 Breeders Bowl races that have yet to be called out on the Black Type Bugler Forum. If you haven't noticed, we are paying double this year, which is 1,500 credits. And Mike Wallace has offered to give a bonus to someone who picks the winner of the race they call out. So, you know, if you can help us at all, head over to the Black Type Bugler Forum on the message board and call out a race. We'd love to have you. So thank you guys for joining us. And
one thing I wanted to point out too is, you know, even if you're not like necessarily a good writer, there's other, like, you can do this to preview a race. I mean, maybe you just do a stream of consciousness preview, you know, and do a little just recording. It doesn't necessarily have to be a total, you know, you don't have to write, you know, 10 paragraphs or something if you don't want to. Just kind of review the race, and you know, I think you know, give it a go, even if you're not necessarily a great writer, or, you know, if you want to do it just like via, you know, recording, you know, give that a go.
For the Breeders Bowl, we would really like a traditional write-up, but we would absolutely take any type of video. I think these have been very popular, and you know, we're always looking for new content. So whatever you want to bring to us, we are happy to take.
I'm working on my Breeders Bowl haiku. I'm not sure if I'll have it done this week, but it's coming.
Might not get 1,500 credits, but yeah,
He's gonna write 2 haikus then.
Yep. So we're paying up to 1,500 for the Breeders Bowl races, and you know, we appreciate everyone who's come and called out a race so far. Like I said, we've got 3 left. So if you have the time this week, we'd really appreciate your help. All right, I guess we're going to sign off here, but thanks you guys for doing one last recap with us.
Thanks for having me, and good luck to everyone in their races this weekend, especially if you have some Breeders Bowl runners. Good luck and Godspeed, and hopefully you get the trophy. I'm still looking for my first Breeders Bowl trophy 21 years in now, so, and I run a lot of stables.
Good luck, everybody. And yeah, if a horse I mentioned wins, make sure that I get, you know, sufficient kickback for that.
Get that tap bonus. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.